Hello, everybody. Steve Wilhelm here. It's Sunday afternoon, 5 o'clock, Seattle time. And the time is what it is, wherever you guys are all sitting and watching me doing this, if you're watching me. And it does say somebody is David Wright. How you doing, David? Good to see you. Sandra has joined. This is another Annabelle, or is that Rob? The second reading from Another Time, Another Chance. Just a quick recap. My name is Daniel Allen. I was in the basement while my wife and son, daughter are over in New York because I'm going to do something fancy for them. I find this box that's got a card from this gal named Jules that I used to date in high school. And I have no idea what happened. And I went to the bar and I met this guy named Matthew, who says he's some psychotherapist doctor, and he's got a procedure that will help me to remember what it is that I have forgotten in my past, because whatever I forgot in my past has shaped me to who I am today. And I've left him and I took his card and I'm thinking about it. And chapter 2. When I awoke the next morning, my head pounded with such ferocity, I was glad I'd never made binge drinking a habit. I managed to make it to the bathroom to pop a couple of aspirins and then went back to bed. After another hour, the pain receded enough for me to take a shower. As I waited for the coffee to finish brewing, I checked my email and was pleased to discover that the deal at work had closed, pending my signature of approval. I opened the attached file as instructed and printed out the contract. All that was left to do was sign, scan, and email it back to accounting, and it was all done. Though elated about the events at work, I was still quite worked up about my apparent loss of memory. I thought about what Matthew and I had discussed at the bar the night before and wondered if what he had proposed was the right thing for me to go through with. I mean, after all, he was basically a stranger. I didn't know him from Adam. He could be a mad scientist for all I knew, with nothing better to do than experiment on hapless idiots with no sense. Maybe Lizzie could shed some light on the past. Maybe I had told her things in all the years we had been together. I punched the speed dial number and made toast while I waited for her answer. That must be a huge relief for you, Lizzie said after I told her the good news about the work deal. It is, really, I said. But judging by the tone of your voice, she told me, I'm sensing that there is something bothering you. You can tell that over the phone from the other side of the country? I asked, though I really wasn't surprised. Lizzie knew me pretty well. Hey, I've heard you sound more excited when you found an unexpected $20 bill in the back pocket of your jeans than I'm hearing from you right now, darling. What's up? Well, what have I told you about my past? I began. I figured I might as well dive right in. No sense beating around the bush. I'm not sure what you mean, Lizzie answered. I'm having a memory loss, I told her. My face was hot as I realized how stupid I sounded trying to put my thoughts into words. I know this sounds crazy, even trivial, but I can't remember what happened to me between high school graduation and the beginning of college. Daniel, what are you talking about? Lizzie paused, and I imagined the gears in her head spinning as she tried to figure out what was going on with me. Are you okay? I suddenly wanted to shout into the phone and tell her that no, I was not okay. But I took a breath and tried to calm the urge. Finally, she spoke. I don't remember anything specific or special about anything, but that was over 20 years ago. What's this about? What's gotten into you? Obviously, this was not going to go anywhere. Lizzie didn't know because I hadn't told her anything. Never mind, I said. I got up and poured my now cold coffee into the kitchen sink. I had a sour taste in my mouth. I'm fine. I'm just making a big deal out of nothing, I imagine. I knew I wasn't. I was really bothered. Honey, if you're worried about something, it's okay to talk about it. Don't keep it bottled up. It's not healthy. Why don't you come out to New York and spend the rest of the week with us? I'm sure Megan would be overjoyed to have you here. Yeah, I'm sure she would, I said, but I'm feeling kind of worn out. Maybe all the stress of getting this deal done has taken its toll on me. I think I'm just going to take the rest of the week off, stay home and rest. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned about you, Daniel. Do you want me to come home? There was sincerity in her voice, though I was sure she really didn't want to have to do that. I knew Lizzie was having a good time and doing a lot of shopping while she was there. God knew she didn't do much of that at home. No, that's fine. Stay there and enjoy your time with Megan, I said. Okay, but call me tomorrow and let me know how you're doing and how you're feeling. Go to the doctor if you're still feeling run down. I will, and I'm sorry if I said anything to worry you. I'm sure it's just stress and old age that's affecting my memory. I looked at Matthew's card, and suddenly I was more convinced that it wasn't as simple as that. I felt it in my gut that there was something that had happened that caused my memory loss. And maybe it was fate that led me to the bar and Matthew so that I could find out what it was. Lizzie's voice brought me out of my thoughts. Stress it may be, but don't forget that we both are still young and in the prime of our lives, Lizzie told me. I heard the smile in her voice. I love you, Daniel. You know you can tell me anything. I know. I love you back, I said, but I wasn't going to tell her. I was going to see Matthew, and I knew she wouldn't understand that. Hell, I didn't even know if I understood what I was doing, but nonetheless, that was exactly what I was going to do. After all, what would hurt? What would it hurt to see what his deal was, what he was really all about? Daniel? Yes? Had I missed something while I was lost in my thoughts? I was just saying that being here reminds me a lot of how it was in our early days together. You remember, don't you? Of course I do, I smiled. The days of young love, how could I ever forget? Things were a lot different then, a lot simpler, Lizzie said. It's still hard to believe I got such good grades with all the time I spent fending off your advances. As I recall, it was the other way around, I said with a chuckle. Most of the time it was you who was seducing me. In your dreams, Daniel, Lizzie said. I could imagine the devious smile on her face. Only when you aren't with me, I said. You will keep an eye on Megan, won't you? We can't have our little girl imitating our past too closely, you know. She needs to be concentrating on her studies. I see. So do as we say and not as we did, eh? Lizzie laughed. Our little girl is practically an adult now, my dear. She's capable of handling things, Lizzie paused. But of course, I will keep an eye on her while I'm here. Well, tell Megan that her old pop loves her and misses her, and give her a hug and a kiss for me, would you? I will. Get some sleep. You never know what surprises tomorrow will bring. I'm sure you will feel like a different person. We said our goodbyes and then hung up. On a whim, I called Craig Harris, a friend at the firm who was the head of security. I asked if he'd do me a personal favor and run a background check on Matthew and make sure he was who he claimed to be. I didn't think I was being overly cautious, just covering the bases and satisfying my rightful concerns. He told me he would have some information within the hour. I poured a fresh cup of coffee and cleaned up my breakfast mess. I was listening to classic Boston on the speakers when my cell rang. Daniel, Craig here. I don't know what you were expecting to find on this Matthew Stevens, but he's perfectly legit as far as I can see. He's had his practice for going on 10 years and is in good standing with the Better Business Bureau. He had a partner who was killed in an auto collision a few weeks ago, but no changes in his practice. Was there anything in particular you were looking for? No, Craig, I told him. Actually, you told me everything I needed to know. I owe you one. Well, if we were counting, you probably owe me a few more than just one, but we won't go there, Craig laughed. I thanked him and told him I would make it worth his while, not to worry. Well, I thought, I guess it wouldn't hurt to go the next step and see what Matthew was like outside of the bar. Daniel, I am so glad to hear from you, Matthew said when he answered the phone. Either he was extremely confident that I would call, or he had caller ID. Well, as I remember, you were very emphatic that I call, I said. That I was. I trust you were satisfied with what you found out about me. How did you... I expect that you had me checked out. I would have done the same thing were I in your shoes, and I take no offense at all. In fact, I am very pleased, Matthew said. So, are you on board? Yes, I said. Splendid. I'm sure you must have more questions, but I think the sooner we get started, the sooner we can answer them. Can you come to my office this afternoon? He wasn't wasting any time. I got Matthew's address and told him I would be there at 2. I asked him if there was anything I should bring or to do to prepare for the meeting, and he told me all I needed to bring was an open mind. Chapter 3. Matthew's office looked like what I imagined a psychotherapist's office should look like, if what I had seen in television shows were any indication. Stuffed brown leather couch and matching easy chair, shelves full of books, certificates decorating the wall, comfort furniture, warm colors, a perfect setting for a therapy session, I thought. There was a door in the corner behind his desk. However, that opened into a setting that didn't really fit into what I had imagined. It resembled somewhat a hospital room with a bed, various monitors, IV stand, and the like. And there was the big mirror set into the wall opposite the bed. So basically, Daniel, what I need you to do is lie down on the bed, just relax and make yourself as comfortable as possible, Matthew said, as he began to put electrodes in various places on my chest and arms. How am I supposed to do that when you have me all wired up? I joked. I had to admit that I was more than a little apprehensive now that I was going through with Matthew's project. And what is up with all the electronics you have going on here? I have to be able to monitor all of your vital signs while you are out, he said. It's all standard procedure, but necessary for the treatment. Really, there is no reason to worry. You will be perfectly safe. While I'm out, you say? I know you told me about this procedure at the bar last night, but I have to admit I'm just a little nervous now that I'm here. Should I be worried at all? I mean, if something were to go wrong, you will be able to bring me back to consciousness, won't you? Of course, yes, and there's no reason to worry. I will be on the other side of the mirror at all times, so you won't be alone. So, really, I'm pretty much a test subject, I said. I understand how you might feel that way, and you are, really. We are trying new procedures, delving into uncharted territories, as it were, but I am confident there should be no problems. And if we do have success, believe me, it will be a major step forward in my research. As Matthew adjusted the wires and looked over the readouts on the monitors, I shifted my body to one side and then the other on the bed in a feeble attempt to get more comfortable. Part of me was beginning to have second thoughts. Was I crazy? Should I just get up and leave? Go home and back to my life and live my life? No. I was being given an opportunity, as implausible as it might seem, to get some resolution to some issues I now had. I might always regret it if I didn't see it through. Matthew took a metal headband that was wired to a monitor he had rolled in from the control room and placed it on my head, adjusting it so that it was snug, but not so tight that it would be uncomfortable. He pulled a syringe out of his lab coat, tugged the cap off, and slightly pushed the plunger so no air would be injected. Whoa, what the hell is that? I asked, involuntarily scooting back away from Matthew and the needle. You never said anything about injections. Not to worry, Daniel, I assure you. It's a solution that will help facilitate activity in certain regions of the brain to better assist in where you need to travel, Matthew explained. That's the easiest way to explain it without going into scientific jargon. Not that I really understand any of that, I said, and shook my head. But I guess this must be the part where I need to shelve my natural inclination to get the hell out of here, because this is just a crazy idea, and give you my trust. I had complete confidence in Alex and his research. I would hope that you would have that same confidence in me as well. Matthew looked at me with his eyebrows raised. But we won't do this if you don't want to, Daniel. The fact that he was giving me the choice rather than just shooting me up did make me feel better about him, but things were getting a little spooky, and I started to feel like I was the dope in a horror movie who was blindly going into the dark room to see what the noise was. I'd seen enough of those movies to know what the outcome always was. Forgive me, Matthew. It's not necessarily that I don't have confidence in you, I said. I'd call it more like a fear of the unknown. I mean, in one sense, the whole deal sounds awesome, and if what you say can happen is true, then it's definitely something that could help me and all. It's just that I stopped fumbling for words. Matthew looked at me, and suddenly I saw his eyes widen, as if he completely understood what I had meant, even if I had not actually said it. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, Matthew said and got up. I have something to show you that might help with your peace of mind. He went to a cabinet at the side of the room next to the door, opened it, and pulled out a videotape. What's that? I asked, curious as to what was on the tape that Matthew wanted me to see. Matthew wheeled a cart in from the other room with a TV monitor that had a video player built in. He put in the tape and pressed the play button. It's a documentation of Alex's first trial of the procedure we are about to perform on you, Daniel. I'm afraid there's no audio, as he unfortunately had not properly hooked up the microphone. He was a brilliant man, but he was not in rudimentary electronics, Matthew explained with a raised eyebrow. The tape didn't reveal all that much, but it did show Alex in much the same position that I currently was in, hooked up to the same hardware as I was. I then watched as he was injected with whatever Matthew intended for me. It didn't necessarily make me feel any safer, but it did somewhat give me some peace of mind that maybe Matthew wasn't making this all up as he went along. That maybe he wasn't the mad scientist that I might have thought he was somewhere in the back of my adult brain. There wasn't much else to see after his injection, just Alex lying prone, motionless on the bed, apparently having fallen asleep. The tape ended and Matthew shut off the VCR. I know that doesn't reveal a lot, but hopefully it has helped to corroborate what I have already told you, Matthew said. Well, more or less, I admitted. I guess I'm okay with this. So tell me, this injection you're going to give me, it's just the nutrients and stuff you told me about? It also contains a mild narcotic to help you relax, Matthew said. Nothing you have to worry about. You won't be calling me up in the middle of the night because you need another fix. Well, okay, I said. I guess there's no sense wasting any more time. I held out my arm at the ready. As he injected the fluid into me, a warmth began to flood through my body. After a few minutes, it seemed like I didn't have a care in the world. I felt quite content and serene, and certainly better than I had felt in the last couple of days. I don't know, Doc, but I kind of like it, I said. My voice was louder in my head. Matthew turned on the EKG machine, looked at some other connections, and then back to me. Apparently, he was satisfied with things. I'm going into the control room now. You will be able to hear me over the speakers in the ceiling, and I will also be able to hear you. Matthew left the room, and I heard the door close. The lights dimmed, and I heard soft music coming from somewhere, classical or new age, I couldn't tell. It didn't matter. It just seemed to blend into the atmosphere. Then I heard Matthew's voice from somewhere inside my head, as perfectly as if it were me just thinking the words. My eyes closed, and I had no desire to open them. Daniel, I want you to think about your past. Think about the last days of high school, to the moment where your memory lapses. Imagine things in as much detail as you can. The more you can remember in vivid detail, the better the results will be. If it feels like you're falling asleep, that's fine. Don't fight it. Go with the flow. Let yourself drift there. I was losing awareness of where I was. The bed, the room, the electrodes attached to me. They were all fading away. My mind was getting fuzzy. I struggled to remember the days back then, the finals, taking Jules to the prom. How beautiful she looked. The end. I'm just kidding. It's not the end, but that's the end of chapter 3. I figured I would read you guys 2 chapters at a time, unless, of course, the chapters are short, and then perhaps I'll read more. But this was a good place to stop because chapter 4 begins a new chapter. Of course, you knew that. Chapter 4. It's not chapter 3. It's a new chapter. Anyway, gosh, I had a lot of people join. Thank you all for experiencing my live reads. It's a lot of fun. I can see where I had some editing issues that probably should have been corrected. But overall, it's fun, man. It's you can get immersed in the story and get caught up in it. And you start to live everything in your mind, and it just kind of jumps out of the pages, and it's cool. I really think I should make my books into audiobooks. You know, if I read them, great. If I don't, if somebody else reads them, I just don't know a lot about it. I do know that hiring somebody, there's 2 ways to do it. You can pay them upfront, or you can pay them a partial, and then they get a percentage of your profits from each audiobook that's sold. Definitely something to think about. But if I knew more about the YouTube process and vlogging and things like that, or looking to getting one of the audio recording programs or apps or something, yeah, I definitely look into doing that. Matter of fact, it's going to go down on my to-do list, which is huge. And I just got to do it. I need more control over my time, more control over the things that I do. I really should cancel Netflix and cancel Amazon Prime, because I think that those are my 2 biggest vices. But, you know, keeps me sane and keeps me out of trouble. So I probably should keep them for now. But Anyway, you guys all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Maybe in some areas where you guys are, it's Monday already. I don't know that it's Saturday anywhere, but anyway, I love all of you and I appreciate all of you. You guys are huge supporters, and can't thank you enough for that. Without you guys, I'd still write, but the fact that you guys read what I write makes it, just brings it into a whole new playing field. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a great night, and next Sunday we'll do a few more chapters, but maybe I'll do a surprise live video in between then. So take care, everybody. Love you all.